All right, fastest 15 minutes in social media, fastest 15 minutes on the internet. My name is Judson Powell. I'm at the crib like everybody else. Anyway, so I got to do it out the closet though, so that I don't bother anybody because there's too many people in this house. My whole thing for procreation. Anyway, so I want to talk about 5G. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I keep forgetting that. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the love button. All right, love one another out there. Anyway, that's not a dry cough. Anyway, okay, so I guess it's like this. The 5G thing has really been fascinating to me because, of course, I am a television and radio guy. And that was always my career. So it was like I was always in radio and television stations. And even when cell phones and all of that, I had one of them old cell phones, was like big as your head and everything like that. So I always had this stuff. I always had technology. I used to drive a live truck and a microwave truck and all of these different types of things. So I've always been around electronic equipment. I was a DJ when I was a kid, so I always had high powered amplifiers and all that kind of stuff. So, and we know that there's a certain amount of radiation that is given off by these, different pieces of equipment. So anyway, so then as cell phones started to evolve, right? We went from like 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, and now we're up to 5G. So I was trying to figure out. So then I started doing some research, and once I started doing research, I was like, hey, you know what? This is like sort of kind of weird, because then I started thinking back to certain events that happened like in the past, and so the difference, in my opinion, this is only my opinion, this is not factual, this is only the stuff that I found out or the stuff that I've experienced. So I do want to disclaim it and give that caveat, all right? But here's the thing, all right? I was riding one time in the car with somebody really famous. In fact, everybody, and I'm not going to say their name, but everybody would know this person, right? Pretty much everybody would know this person. So I was riding in the car with this person. And so, this is recently. And so the person was like, they were like, hold on one second, I need to call somebody. And they pulled out a flip phone, right? Okay, so, and everybody else in the car, we all got like, these fancy phones, iPhones, and this, that, and the other thing. And so I'm like, why do you have, all the money you have, why do you have a flip phone? I thought they were going to give me some explanation, like they were thrifty or they were trying to save money or something like that. But that wasn't it. They were like, no, the 5G will kill you. And the other thing is that basically they're governmental tracking devices. And he was like, so I never had one and will never get one. You'll never know where I am. And I was like, so yeah, he's like, so unless they get on this thing, he's like, and I always keep it on a certain mode, and the only persons that I call are basically family members or other associates that I really desperately need to talk to. But everybody else is like, I don't really use it. I definitely don't use it, wouldn't use it for internet or anything like that. So I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, wow. And so then I remembered the conversation that the late Prince had on television, one of his last interviews, a couple years back, and he was saying how like he didn't have a cell phone, and I was like, wow. And the reason why he didn't have his cell phone, he started talking about chemtrails and microwaves and all of this stuff, and he actually went into this. And so I looked into it a little bit because, I like Prince. Prince is my boy. I used to listen to his music and stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, so I started. The difference appears to be that the other radio signals up until now were benign. In other words, they were very harmless. They really couldn't do a whole lot to you. They could transmit stuff back and forth and all that kind of stuff. Just like when we used to be in the microwave trucks or in the in the satellite trucks. We have basically two-way communication. We got the big receiver, you got the receiver up there, and then you got a transmitter. Okay. Well, the difference in 5G is does all of that, but it does that at such a high level that it can actually, and I didn't realize this, but it can actually permeate your skin. It's not benign. In other words, it can permeate through things. And that's why they could guarantee like all these high speeds and all that kind of stuff. See the 3G and the 4G, which we're used to, like how like if you get in a bad spot or if you get in a place or whatever, you get inside. Well, not 5G. 5G can go through that wall. It can go through you. All right. So that's the difference. It can actually go through us. All right. Which is in a way, it's scary because they could, use it as a weapon. I mean, because if I have a microwave and just like your microwave oven, even though it's at a lower frequency, it's still, it's still the same concept. Well, if your microwave can cook a steak in a minute, what could the government do to everybody if they decided to use this as a weapon of warfare? And I'm just being from a practical standpoint. Okay, the other thing is that it can transmit signals, and because it permeates things and it's not benign, because it'll go through things, or because it can control physical things as well. Well, because it can control physical things like your body, it can also control things that are in the air. So, and I remember when Prince was talking about the chemtrails and all that, and then I saw this black guy. I don't know his name, but he was talking about like all the times that he was a former Air Force person. He was talking about all the times that they released stuff into the air, and he was like he thought, and the whole time he was doing it, he thought that it was just extra fuel so that they could like lighten, if they didn't need the fuel, they could lighten the load. And so it would turn into gas. Okay, well, the same way they do that, they could easily release whatever they wanted, put a signal through it, and control it. If you know what I know about microwaves, you can take that signal and basically you can finagle that signal, kind of tweak it however you want, and it'll do certain things. Just like even within the microwave spectrum, even within that spectrum, there are so many different other frequencies. Okay, so just like I remember, like on the satellite truck, okay, we'd be broadcasting on one frequency, and then on another frequency we might be receiving something, and at the same time we would be two-way communicating back and forth on that frequency. Okay, and it's all basically, it's like bands. Okay, so within a certain band, it's like when you go online, just like the reason why, like sometimes you'll go on a website, it won't work for you or whatever, is because the bandwidth is filled up, meaning there's too many people on there, and because there's too many people, it starts slowing down. That's like when something happens and somebody's website gets crashed, or their social media gets crashed, is because it's not there, it's still there, but there's so many people trying to access it that it cannot comply. Well, 5G is not like that, okay, because it's at a point where the frequency is so wide and it's so powerful and so strong. Like I said, it'll go through. So instead of going to that wall and stopping, or having the bandwidth be limited, it's basically, it's not unlimited, but it's almost unlimited. And so it's a very, very powerful thing. And yes, the government could use it as a weapon of mass destruction. I hate to, dun dun dun, but is it? And so And so that's the whole thing about is it a conspiracy, or is it just there as a commercial tool to make money? And the other thing is, so many more people can use it, and it'll still be powerful, and it'll still be strong. So bandwidth is not going to fall off because you're on there. And that's basically why they keep. And there's already, and this technology. Here's the thing too: 5G has been around since 1979. The military has used 5G since 1979. That's something else I dug up. And so they've been using it, but they just haven't been, because of course if they're in war, they don't want their communications to be broken down. So obviously the better their communication apparatus, the easier it is for them to go and do whatever. So now here's the conspiracy theory. Here's where it gets good. So they take this 5G, right? So say they decide to take this 5G, and they decide to release chemicals via the chemtrail thing or whatever, and they put them in the air, and then they use the 5G somehow to manipulate them. The other theory, or the other conspiracy theory, is that these waves are permeating through your body, which they probably are, because what I know just about regular radio and television waves, if that's what they do. Basically, in fact, I remember one time, one of the engineers at one of the television stations I worked at, he told me, he was like, if you put a color on all the radio and television waves that are in the air, that you couldn't see in front of you, because radio and television waves would be everywhere. So if you painted all those radio and television waves black, you couldn't even see in front of you. It would literally be dark. It would literally be black. Okay, now so they could actually use that kind of thing, because the other ones are benign. In other words, they go around you. They don't go through you. They go around you. 5G goes through you. So say they put a signal on the 5G, because your body cannot, first of all, your five senses cannot detect everything in every single wave that's around you, in every single, I meant to say frequency. So your body can't detect every single frequency that is around you. Okay, because just like, and once again, like something, so like a microwave, so they can fry everybody. And we already know that the smart TVs and even your phone knows what you're doing and what you're saying. Because in fact, we had a conversation, me and one of my frat brothers had a conversation about that. Me and my wife talk about it, all the time. In fact, we play a little game. So what we do is we write something down or talk about something outside of the room, and then we come in the room and talk about something that we have no interest in at all, and try to see if it comes up on our timelines on our cell phones. And usually it does. So they're already listening to us, whether it be, live people, or whether it be some type of robot listening device. So that's the real thing about the conspiracy. So is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? I mean, that's a call to, but I think that it does need to be researched more, and it does need to have a handle put on it, so that people know, like, there needs to be, like, what can they do and what can they not do, what's legal and what's not, because that's where it gets down and hits the nitty gritty. Because you got people, even your TV, they were talking about how the smart TVs, they're looking at you, they can film you, if you have a camera on your smart TV. So, and with 5G, the back and forth communication, because right now the back and forth communication is not that sophisticated, but in 5G, it's off the chain. They can be recording you doing whatever. Y'all sitting at the table eating dinner, and the government is recording you or whatever, or you could be in your bedroom doing something. which is what everybody really feels, doing something intimate, and they're spying on you. Anyway, fastest 15 minutes. That's all I got. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the love button, and stay out of harm's way. social distance. Don't touch nothing that you're not supposed to touch. Nasty.